All right. Welcome everyone to VSF Live. That's Vintage Science Fiction Live, except today we're going to expand out into movies and maybe a little bit of horror, maybe even a little detective fiction. We'll see. I'm joined here today by Kyle Pinion, film critic and writer. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Richard. I'm so excited to be here, and what a great intro. That was very exciting. I'm pumped up.
I do like that epic music. It does help get started. I know for me as well. It pumps me up as we get going here. So right now we just have a couple people have joined us, but I'm sure there'll be many who come in here as we're going along. So we'll get started with just a little bit of background information. Tell me a little bit about your job right now as a film critic and some of the things that you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been a film critic since about 2012. And it started off kind of as like a hobbyist thing. And to be clear, film criticism is not really a super lucrative career. It's the kind of thing that a lot of people do as their nighttime hustle and part-time work, where paying gigs are becoming fewer and fewer far between. But I've been very lucky to have a number of great opportunities to work for a number of different outlets and sort of have my own outlet as well. But yeah, I started that in 2012. I started my own little blog after many years of writing opinions about movies on Facebook in the nascent days of when Facebook was better than it is now. And people said, "Oh, you should write more." And I didn't really have a ton of training in film at the time. I was a film enthusiast, but I wasn't really somebody that like knew a lot about the sort of intricacies of how a film was made. But in between my off hours from my real job at the time, which was I was a federal and state lobbyist, which is a completely different thing. I started my own little blog. And then in 2014, I started working for a much bigger website called Comics Beat, or The Beat, which my good friend Heidi McDonald runs. She needed somebody to come in to be her entertainment editor. I jumped in feet first, and we had a partnership that went for a very long time until about 2020, when I broke off on my own just to sort of establish my own sort of identity as a critic. And that's when I started up my ScreenRex website, which is now kind of the go-to place where all of my writing and my partner's writing, who has been writing as a film critic alongside me really this entire time. We have like kind of an interesting dynamic, because she and I will go see these films together at press screenings, or we'll go to premieres, or we'll go to any sort of press opportunities that might be available to us. And it's funny to like go back to the car and like discuss whether what do you think? What did I think? And lately we've been pretty divided, which is not unusual. But for example, that movie Backrooms that just came out, that is the big hit of this past weekend, she loved it. I did not. And we had these long conversations on the way to dinner, a much delayed dinner, about why that was. And then it's like, okay, who's writing the review on this thing? Who has the best take?
That's a great way, though, to have a review, or to maybe have dueling reviews at the same time.
Sometimes, yeah, we try not to overdo it, only because there is like limited bandwidth for a lot of people to want to get like a take on something. And I never want to like have like a second take unless it's just like so valuable for us to have sort of differing opinions on it. And that way we usually combine that into like one article, but or a podcast, which is something we usually do. But yeah, it's been a pretty awesome experience, and it's really opened a lot of cool doors for us. It's led to how you and I got connected.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm just going to throw a picture up on the screen here. Let me see. I just got to get this one off. Where are we here? Remove that. So one of the things that happened recently, I think it was this fall or into winter, there was a movie called The Life of Chuck, which is based on a novella by Stephen King. And the person who, sometimes I call him the Stephen King whisperer, Mike Flanagan, made this film called The Life of Chuck. And it was a film where they were very careful not to really give too much away in the trailers. I'd read the story, so I knew where it was going, but my wife had no clue. In fact, she didn't really know I was going to show her that this is a Stephen King film. And after she watched it, and we talked about it being Stephen King and how Stephen King has some amazing novellas like The Shawshank Redemption, which was the Rita Hayworth story, something like that. There's a poster, and Apt Pupil, and there's another one even from different seasons.
The Body, yeah.
The Body, yeah. So Stand By Me,
right.
And so that pictures that people may not think of as Stephen King writing them are some of his best work or best adaptations. And so she loved The Life of Chuck and said, you got to do a review on your channel, talk about it on your channel. And it's not normally something that I do on this channel. I would say it's a light fantasy, maybe just a touch of horror in there, but I enjoyed it so much that I did. And I likened it or said that, this might be almost equal to Shawshank Redemption in terms of how this could be one that may not have done as well in the box office, but I think is going to find its audience afterwards. And you commented in there, and you commented about being in the premiere for it in the Toronto Film Festival. And this is a picture that you took. And I think I'd like to just leave it here for you now. And if you want to take off in terms of what this story is, what happened here.
Yeah. My partner and I, we've been really lucky because the folks at TIFF have been so kind as to allow us access to their festival these last, I want to say 5, almost 6 years now.
And TIFF is Toronto International Film Festival?
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. I get so used to the shorthand. But yeah, and we go as press. We get access to a lot of really cool press screenings that are totally separate from a lot of this premiere stuff. But sometimes you also get an opportunity to pick up tickets to some of these bigger showings. And this actually occurred not last fall, but the fall before that. Before I think the movie even got picked up by a distributor. Because in the end, I'm not sure in Canada who picked it up. It might have been Vertical. I'm not sure. But I know Neon picked it up in the US. And they before that, but when this premiere happened, they didn't even have it. There was no studio attached other than the studio that had actually produced the thing, which was Mike Flanagan's whole deal. So we got tickets to this premiere, and what's funny is about the press thing at film festivals is that because you're going from screening to screening to screening, you usually see about 4 to 5 movies a day, which is pretty brain deadening. I have to be honest with you, Richard. I have done it where it's like 8 a.m. all the way up to about midnight seeing movies, and with a little bit of breaks for meals in between. But you're also dressed like it, like you're dressed like, shorts, t-shirt, like really casual wear. But they also have these premieres. And as you can see in this picture, there's a number of people dressed very nicely. So we got into our seats for this premiere, figuring we'll probably sit nowhere near where any of the celebrities are. We didn't even know who was going to be coming for this. But we had 2 separate seats. My partner was seated on the other end. I was seated kind of in the middle in this Princess of Wales theater there in Toronto. And I had a lot of empty seats around me, just tons. And I was like thinking to myself, boy, this is going to get bad. I'm a little nervous about what this means. But I thought, no, it doesn't matter. It just means people haven't shown up yet. And then slowly but surely, I started seeing celebrities walking in looking very sharp. I saw Tom Hiddleston walk in. I saw, Matthew Lillard, a big favorite of mine from the Scream franchise. I saw Kate Siegel, Mike Flanagan's wife, and all these people started walking in, and they were all kind of sitting closer to me than I would have liked, to be honest, based on how I was dressed. And then, in walks Stephen King and Mark Hamill, and it's sitting right next to each other, 2 rows behind me. And I am feeling very, very underdressed and very exposed because not only was I wearing very casual clothes, but I was also wearing my Kamala Harris campaign hat for the time because we had the race right before then. So it really was like I felt truly unprepared. But all the same, the film, it was a very interesting experience because I've never seen a movie before where the star of it, I could turn around and actually watch themselves on screen. And that is such a weird, surreal thing. And I didn't want to be a creeper, but as Tom Hiddleston is in the middle of this film and he's dancing, he only shows up kind of in like the second third of the film, like the second act. And I turned around and just kind of looked as he's watching himself. And it's just so wild to see the way he's like beaming as he's like seeing himself, and I'm looking at him watching himself. And I felt like I was like about to be thrown into like some alternate dimension, because of it. But it really kind of juiced up my feelings about the movie. I haven't seen it since I saw the premiere because there's no way I can recapture that same magic. The idea of watching a Stephen King adaptation with Stephen King in the room with all the stars watching it at the same time, and then this big Q&A afterwards, everybody giving Stephen King his big standing ovation, which you see in this picture here. And needless to say, a lot of the cast stuck around. By the end of the movie, when the credits rolled, Stephen got the heck out of there. He did not stick around. So yeah, that is my Life of Chuck story. Good movie.
It was, and you commented about, and I'm just like amazed. And I read something about it too, that Mark Hamill was starstruck just to be with Stephen King. Apparently Stephen King really doesn't go to very many of his premieres. Like this might've been the first one in 20 years that he'd gone to see. So it was something really special. And I think that he's formed a really special relationship with Mike Flanagan. So I think that was part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, all of Flanagan's adaptations of King have been, I think, very strong. And I mean, I thought Dr. Sleep was very good too. And Midnight Mass is a Stephen King adaptation, all but name.
So, I love it. That's probably my favorite work of Mike Flanagan's is Midnight Mass.
Too.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, let's say hi to a few people here who are in our audience here now. We got Vince. Hello, Vince. And Camo for Cocktails. There we go. That's dressing up right. And somebody's just talking about getting notification that we're on. Rob from my hometown of Winnipeg. Welcome.
Nice.
But I'm dressed a little bit more like a Jeff Bridges, California style today.
Nice.
Dude. We have Toledo, Ohio. By the way, let me see if I remember how to say this right. Decatur. Nope. Decatur.
Decatur, you got
Georgia.
It.
Where Kyle's based out of.
Yeah, man.
And Levi Wallace, he's a writer as well. Yeah,
hey Levi
Wallace, welcome. And hello from Halifax. So we got a couple of Canadians and a couple of Americans with us right now. I think maybe, and people can come back and watch this later on, but I think that I want to do this draw and get this out of the way. There is a draw. And maybe I should just make myself a little bit bigger here for now. There's a draw for 3 SF Masterworks that I've had running for about a week. And what I did, some of you know that, let's get this one off of here first. Where am I here? And we'll put this one up. I created, with my wife, we worked on a PDF here of the different people who've entered, and a lot of these people here have multiple entries. So I have a number assigned to them, and what we're going to do is, let's go back to this one. I wish I could get you to help me through the screen. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. That's better. Help me through the screen and reach in here, but all the different numbers are in this hat. And so I'm going to ask my wife, who's just next door, to come in, and we're going to draw a number, and then we'll look at our spreadsheet and figure out who's won. So Mrs. Vintage SF, can you hear me? Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that this was going to work. So we'll angle this away from her so she can't see the number.
I can pretend it's like my hand. Like, look at that.
There you go. That's right. And here it comes. We got one. Oh, it's close to the beginning. It's number 6. Let me just show that to you here. There you go. Oh, Carol. Is it number 6 or number 9?
Uh-oh.
Oh, she's an accountant, so maybe she'll know for sure. Oh,
do that Uno thing with a line,
Yeah, this is controversial here. Let me take a look and see what the font looks like here for number 6 and number 9. We're talking about this is going to be either Ron Ruger or Whopper Doodle.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Wow, we didn't think about
Yeah. I think that's a number 6 because I think it's rounded
Okay,
differently.
there's 69. Do you see a difference?
You know what I think we need to do is I think we have to have
no,
a.
you know what? I think it's a 6 just based on the cut.
We have a cut and we do have a line at the bottom. So this is where we'll get rid of the controversy right now. Ron Ruger, it's going to be yours. Here's where we figured this. Oh, let me get this back here.
Next time we put a line under.
Because we cut it out, you may not be able to see it well, but there's a line here at the bottom for where we cut it out from the panel. So that's why we believe it's a number 6. All right. Wow. Here I thought we had everything
Ron
figured
is
out.
one. He's run some nice books.
Yeah. So anyway, Ron Ruger, I'll try and get in contact with you and get these to you a little bit later. All right. And Vince is going, that's too funny. Of course, something like that would happen. And congratulations to Ron. All right. And the drama. Yeah. A photo finish in a raffle.
Ron, I don't know if you've ever read Lord of Light before, but what a great book. Holy moly.
Well, and there you and I might have to disagree. I had a tough time with that one.
Oh, really? Oh, man. Oh, man. I love Zelazny.
Yeah, I do like Zelazny, but I had a tough time with that one. I think of these 3, Blood Music would be my favorite.
For sure. Oh, yeah. No. There's no question. No question. Like, yeah. I like Gateway as well. But yeah, I mean, Greg Bear, I think, is like a cut above. But I just like the historical aspects of Lord of Light with Argo. You remember that with the Jack Kirby and all that? I think that's so interesting to like have that context to like go into like real world history. And I'm a politics nut too. So it's all those things tie in together. It's so fun.
Briefly, what we're talking about is when we had the hostages, the American hostages in Iran in the late 70s, there was a plan to try to get them out, or some of them out, at the beginning there with the Canadian Embassy, actually. And the Canadian Embassy was going to host this film production that was going to be filming in Iran because it had some amazing settings for Lord of Light. So Jack Kirby had created artwork for this so that they could show it off as, this is what we're talking about. This is the kind of costumes and set designs that we want to do. And we're going to be scouting here. And it was a fake production. What they were doing is they were trying to just get some people out from, I don't know exactly, were they all Americans? I think they were all Americans. There might have been a European in there too.
Yeah.
But they got a number of people to Canadian Embassy and got them out with their film crew later on. So that was part of a rescue mission for those people. Great movie too, called Argo with Ben Affleck, right?
Yeah, Ben Affleck and Alan Alda. Oh, not Alan Alda. I'm sorry. Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Good. Yeah. Was John Goodman in that too? Did I make that up?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember. That's good. Later on, I'm going to research that and fact check myself.
It's an awesome story, though. The story about that rescue is almost, well, to me, was better than the story itself. Anyways, we'll move on from here.
Let's talk about Argo the whole hour. Let's just talk about Argo.
It may not be that hard to do, but I didn't really research it for this one. And Rob tells us, yes, that John Goodman was in Argo. There we go. And we have somebody who agrees with you. They just read Lord of Light and enjoyed it. Gateway's an all-time favorite. They haven't read Blood Music, though. So I recommend it.
Vince, you ever read Eon? That's a good one, too, man.
I did. Once again, we might have to disagree, though. I mean, there's a lot of politics in there, especially a lot of Cold War type politics, but I felt like there's a lot thrown at the wall and not a great execution towards the end of that novel.
I'm not a big hard SF guy, so I might, you and I might actually agree.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, that was how we met Life of Chuck. And then you have TBR Kyle. And this is this is your YouTube channel. And this was your opportunity. Obviously you work with Film Critic and doing other work that you used to do a lot of work with comics and graphic novels as well, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe you should just tell a little bit about that, and then we'll go into what your YouTube channel is about too.
Sure. So I this is a little bit of a shameful admission, but I didn't read a lot of prose until I was about like 38. I read some, but not much. But I was a voracious comics reader from the time I was about 7, 8, and I read comics for about 30 years. And one of the things that I did was I was a huge collector. I had, I don't have anywhere near the amount of comics that I used to have. I've really kind of cut that down. But I will say, I don't think I have it anymore, but I had an encyclopedic knowledge of DC comics and like its cosmology. And, ask me anything about the multiverse. I could probably answer it. Maybe not anymore. But when I started writing for Comics Beat, or The Beat, which is his actual name, not only was I its entertainment editor and doing all of like the articles about the TV shows and the movies related to comics and anything that was within nerd and fandom culture, I also did a lot of work around DC Comics specifically, because that was kind of my bailiwick. And when I went to Comic-Con every year, I would interview talent, the Scott Snyders of the world, and people like Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue DeConnick, and a lot of big names. Tom King, I have interviewed a few times. And it was a lot of fun to meet these creators within the independent scene, like the Hernandez brothers, and a lot of like folks who really like kind of were like the backbone of my reading experience. But right around the time of the pandemic, I started having this hunger to read things I had never read before, which was a lot of prose and a lot of fantasy fiction, a lot of science fiction. And I was specifically drawn to two works that kind of kickstarted everything for me as a reader of things that didn't have pictures in it, I mean to say. And that was Elric by Michael Moorcock and Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Both of those were like my first foray into speculative fiction in like sort of a serious adult way. And I read those, and then I just became hooked. I started reading Samuel R. Delany. I started reading, who else did I start reading after that? I picked up things like the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I started reading Philip K. Dick for the first time, and then I just went on and on, Ursula K. Le Guin, And one of the things I decided to do was like, well, you're a couple of years into this process of just reading things that are just huge blind spots for me, which was just almost everything, really. I thought, why not create like a channel around it, just to sort of like just to like create like sort of a reading diary for the things that like I should have read already. And that's really what over the past 1.5 to 2 years that I've been working on with the back catalog of this TBR Kyle channel, is that I just want to like pick up things as they sort of cross my lap here. And so, it is not just all speculative fiction or genre fiction. I mean, the last video I just did 2 videos ago was about the very very difficult Dennis Johnson, who's kind of like a bit of a sort of I wouldn't call him Pinchonian, but he's very similar in terms of like difficulty. And I've read one of his big, like, we were talking about the Vietnam War in a video, you know what I mean? Whereas like, and then the next video I'm talking about like Florida crime fiction with Charles Willeford. And I also just became like very inspired to, because I was a little rudderless in like how I would do this, but I became so inspired watching your videos, Richard, watching the videos of Steven over at the Outlaw Bookseller, watching Matt at Book Pilled, Matt at Books from the Back Porch. Like a lot of these guys, Criminali, all these guys that like had like really cool, good identities, great presences on camera, really great content and videos, and good points of view. And that's like the kind of thing that I'm constantly trying to massage into my own work and try to come up with like my own sort of niche, which right now is just so broad because I'm just so interested in everything. Like, my next video is probably going to be about Ernest Hemingway, which, boy, what a hot topic for YouTube that is, So, I mean, for me, it's like, it's just a matter of me like growing as a writer and a reader. And that's really all that channel is all about. So the people that have been kind enough to like watch my videos and leave comments and give me encouragement have been so kind and so generous with their time, and I'm just appreciative of it.
And I love it. You have a passion for whatever you're reading, and you're a wordsmith, and I can tell sometimes in some of your reviews. Just I'm excited just listening to how you've crafted your critiques and how you say some of the things that you say, and that is one of the reasons you have also talked about that your writing. I picked up Taking Root, a collection of stories. I also want to mention, you mentioned Stephen E. Andrews, the outlaw bookseller. You talked very glowingly about Veraconium and had talked about Steve and how he had recommended it, and that's where you'd picked it up. Well, you recommended it. So, I mean, I guess it's grandfathered down to me now. And I picked this up just this last month due to your recommendation. So it's a lot of fun on BookTube here because we get to hear what other people think. And, fantasy is not definitely the thing that I read the most of, but it's definitely tangential to science fiction. And so I'm looking forward to reading some M. John Harrison here. In particular, the first little bit there, Pastel City, is something that I've wanted to read for a while, actually.
Yeah, that is quite a ride, and I won't relitigate my video because there's so much to be said about Veraconium in the way it sort of morphs and changes and grows with Harrison as a writer. But I think you'll really find a lot to chew on there, and I look forward to hearing what you think because it doesn't work for everybody, especially some sections will work better for others than some sections work for whoever. But I really, really can't wait to see what your thoughts are.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm a mood reader, so we'll see when I hit the mood for that.
Sure.
Before we go on to talk a little bit about your book here, let me just see what we have. If we have some comments here, we've got, let's see, a person here Rob has said, I'd love to hear how you separate film book reviews from film book analysis or not. So let's actually, I'll just leave that up there. You want to say something to that?
Well, to me, I'm not sure that I necessarily have I see a big difference between the two. I think analysis obviously requires a bigger space and requires more time, especially when it comes to film reviews. Unfortunately, the current landscape of movie reviews has become shorter is more attractive to a lot more people, to the point where I'm sad to say that like the written word in the film in film reviews have become less there's less of a draw for an audience. Right. And instead a lot of people have kind of like shifted over to video content. I mean, even I had to like open up a TikTok account, which I couldn't believe at 42 years old I was opening up a TikTok account. But it really has worked, and it really has created like an interesting sort of parlay between like, how do I get my points across in about a 3-minute span and do it in a way that is still, cogent and still provides some sort of messaging for the audience. It doesn't really answer Rob's question, but I really don't think that like the one separates these two except by length. I think review can really go by any length at all. Whereas for me, analysis would be me writing and talking about things for like an extensive amount of time. Mm-hmm. My Veraconium video that I made a couple months ago, to me, that's full on analysis. That's not review. Whereas if I did a review of Veraconium, I'd be talking about it for, a solid 4 minutes. Oh, this is really amazing. It's one of the best fantasy things I've ever read, and I would try to talk to that a little bit, but, we break it down and we talk a little bit about the prose stylings. We talk about the influences. We talk about where the contextual pieces are for M. John Harrison as a writer. And we do the same thing with films, when we talk about like the career arc of, I don't know, like a Paul Thomas Anderson or somebody, one of my favorite filmmakers. And we could talk extensively about a movie like The Master and how all of these different influences that he pulled from, stories that he heard from Jason Robards and things that he pulled from Thomas Pynchon's V and things that he like kind of left off the cutting room floor from other films that made it into The Master's screenplay. That's the kind of analysis that I would spend a lot of time on if I were to do that over a movie that came out, 14, 13 years ago now. If anybody would watch that video, but I don't know if they would. But anyway, it's all about length of time.
I'm struggling to see how Robard and V come together in a film. I haven't seen that film.
Oh, it's so good. Oh my God, Richard, it's so good.
All right.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of Anderson films, but yeah, okay. One of the things that I appreciate about film work too is sometimes when we have these books that are really extensive in terms of how a film got made and the script and the actors and how they were brought on board or contracts, things that change or how it's one book that I have, and somebody want to see if I can find more books of his, is about the making of the Planet of the Apes by Rinsler, I think is his name. And I found that a very fascinating book. And I just sort of read portions of it at a time.
Yeah, yeah. Filmmaking, the more you write about it, the more you observe it, the more you learn about all of the different elements of craft. And it's almost it's because it's a collaborative medium, right? I mean, people give a lot of credit to directors, and they should, but directors are sort of like the chief storytelling engine. I mean, if they write the script, of course, the script comes first, and then the director comes in and kind of shapes the vision. But they're also administrators of a giant staff, and that's something that's really sort of under discussed in filmmaking. Not only do directors act as administrators of like everyone that's below the line, from the cinematographer to the Foley artist to the gaffers to the best boys to the editor, who is so crucial, honestly, as people who edit their own videos, we know this, right? But also, like, they also craft the performances along with the actors, and that's another sort of under-heralded thing about filmmaking and directors. It's also collaborative in the same way that comic books are collaborative. Inkers can change the way an artist's art looks. Penciler's lines can look totally different with a different inker, and it's very similar to how things kind of combine in filmmaking. It's just, I love it. I love thinking about it, and I love talking about it.
And I love hearing about stories in the writing rooms of television series too. I remember hearing stories about Breaking Bad, how they would break their story and piece out the writing of it and have all these cue cards on the wall. By the way, Georgia is really sort of a Hollywood of the Southeast, isn't it? A lot of things get made in Georgia.
They're filming Superman right now, the new sequel, like down the street from my house. Like it's I was supposed to go, and I'm sad to say I didn't end up making that He-Man movie last night because I think it was too hard to catch up post trip. We just went on a vacation for the folks watching, and coming back was just impossible to do. But where that theater is, they were filming. James Gunn and the whole cast and crew, they were filming scenes, and my friends were like, I could hear James Gunn down the street directing. And so, yeah, Atlanta really, it's not as big as it used to be because some tax credit things have changed with our state legislature. But yeah, for the last decade, I mean, when we had Marvel Studios here, and of course Tyler Perry, who is such a huge presence within his specific milieu. Like those were two of the biggest things, but also like a lot of rom-coms were filmed here. Certain action movies were filmed here that are a little lesser and well known. A lot of independent things. A lot of Atlanta was playing Los Angeles. Oh yes, The Walking Dead. Yeah. Yes, down in Noonan and Sonoya, Georgia. Yes, pretty much built an entire industry for a while there in one of these tiny towns that I worked in 20 years ago, which is completely different, I'm sure now. Yeah, it's Atlanta has played a lot of different cities.
As has Toronto and Vancouver. All of a sudden we're New York or something like that for some of these Marvel movies too.
I saw this movie Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which is like actually filmed up there in Toronto. And I was like, this is the first time I've seen a movie where Toronto's actually playing Toronto. Wow.
Well, I have seen every once in a while the CN Tower can't be wiped out, or they forget to wipe it out of, say, a television series or something like that that's supposed to be set in New York. It's kind of hilarious.
That's great. If you've never seen that Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, Richard, by the way, I didn't know anything about these guys, but there's a scene where they jump off the CN Tower.
Really?
Yeah, it's
like
this really
like as in bungee jumping or parachutes or what?
Yeah, they're planning. They get up there where it's like the whole gimmick is like they're leaning, where you get to the top and do the lean, but they bring like some things to cut the wires. And they cut the wires because they're trying to do like a whole like huge headline grabbing thing for a gig that they're playing at a local club, which is like
this is true.
Shtick. No, it's not. It's a movie.
Okay, because I was like, I don't remember that news story.
No, but it's a really fun movie that premiered at Toronto last year. and like really was like the talk of the festival. And now it just recently hit here in the US.
Okay.
And everybody just totally digging it. It's a really fun Back to the Future riff. I
thought you
definitely
were talking
recommend
about,
it.
like Nirvana from Seattle.
That's the joke. Like,
Oh, okay.
there was like it was a web series called Nirvana the band the show, and now this is Nirvana the band the show the movie. So yeah, they're a fun duo. It's really good.
All right, I'll watch for that.
All right.
We got some more people have some things here. Keith is from Calgary. He is a long-time comic reader. By the way, I have read a lot of comics as well and graphic novels. We were just talking about that before we got on air. Hyperion is so good. Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
The book Circle of Life. I guess that refers to something we were talking about. Popcorn time. The art of adaptation is a difficult one. It's usually paring down source material to the core parts or going for the feeling of the material. Maybe I'll say it this way. You can talk about that comment and maybe what are some that you think did a really good job in being adaptations?
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about Paul Thomas Anderson again.
Okay.
just for a moment, because he did win the Oscar, right? That film, One Battle After Another, is an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, right? I will probably pillar myself a little bit when I say I think Vineland is a very bad book. I don't like it. I barely made my way through it. I just thought it was pretty dreadful. But One Battle After Another is a wonderful film. And basically what Anderson did was take sort of the core conflict of that book, bring it to the modern day, and kind of like drastically just drench it in like our current day political milieu. Whereas that book was like written as sort of like a response to like Reaganomics in America and like the failures of like the free love generation and like, well, here we are again back in sort of, the 50s are back here in the 80s. That's really what Vineland was all about. One Battle After Another is more entrenched in like sort of the immigration debate and sort of like this idea of like what the right thinks the left looks like and what the left thinks the right looks like. And it's kind of this weird apolitical political film. And I thought it was really captivating. I think it's the best movie of like the last 20 years, to be honest with you. So if you've never seen it, you have my endorsement.
I can see that my wife and I have another movie to look forward to.
Boy, do you have my endorsement. Leo is spectacular in it. Talk about like sort of hapless bum movies. Leo's character in that is for sure that character. He's failing upward constantly. Another adaptation that's kind of interesting, only because I have Key West on the brain, and we'll kind of go old. This is not within the SF space or anything. But
this is fine. I definitely want to hear about movies.
Okay, so Ernest Hemingway. One of his great short stories is this thing called The Killers, right? And it's a story about one of his ongoing characters, Nick Adams. He's at a bar. He's like a stand-in for Hemingway, and he's at this diner. Sorry, not a bar. He's at a diner, and these two guys come in, and they basically like hold up the entire diner because they're waiting for this old boxer to show up because they've been hired to kill him. And so they tie up Nick, they tie up the cook with Nick in the back, and then the proprietor, they're questioning him like, when's this guy showing up? When's he coming? Why is he not here? What's going on? And it's like a big sort of dialogue driven, tense piece, which is really unlike a lot of what Hemingway has ever written. He never really wrote a lot of crime fiction, and this is like the closest thing he ever did in terms of writing it. But then that was written in, I think in like 1927. And then I think maybe 15 years later, the great filmmaker Robert Siodmak he adapted it. And what he did was he took that scene, put it at the front of the movie, and then expanded it beyond into a 90-minute feature about what happens when this what happens when these two crooks are still chasing after this boxer, and like, why are they doing it? And it really fills out the entire story. And what's fascinating about that movie, not only because they made it twice, they made it in the 60s as well, as like this really cool sort of later movie that actually starred Ronald Reagan, of all people, getting back to that for some reason. But this 1940s version is one of the key noir films of that era. And it's before Hemingway died, he had specifically said it's the only movie that they adapted that actually was up to the standards of my material. It's the only one that was any good. So they made a lot of movies.
Expanded on it.
They did, yeah. They made like a further epilogue, and that kind of stuff is really fascinating to see. I mean, you can see like direct adaptations like Dune Part 1 and Part 2. Like those are well made. I think they make smart edits. There's a few things that I could complain about, like where's Count Fenring, but like that's another great adaptation to me, at least the recent Villeneuve version, not the Lynch version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just a matter of like, does it enrich the material, or does it make the material I think sing on screen? Then I think it's a good adaptation. If it's kind of just sort of a flat adaptation that doesn't really bring a lot to the table, then you end up seeing something that I think is a lot worse. And I could probably list some things off, but I won't dwell on the negative here. Another good adaptation, by the way, The Green Knight. Excellent.
Okay. Rob says that Michael Benson wrote a solid book on the making of 2001, Space Odyssey. There's also one that Arthur C. Clarke wrote called The Lost Worlds of 2001, which I've read, which are the story arcs that he created that Kubrick left to the side or changed. And so it's very interesting to see what could have been the story. And also he has a little bit of a diary of how he worked with Kubrick in the creative process. I really enjoyed that one.
There's another one that I think is really great. Ray Bradbury wrote about his experiences working on Moby Dick with John Huston.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was John Huston. Yeah, that was it was for sure. I think one of the I think that's like a key text to sort of get the writer's experience and adapting something that's seemingly unadaptable.
I have a biography about Bradbury, and it talks about that particular situation in there too. When do film reviews do you consider how close it was to the book? Altered Carbon is an example of one where they changed a lot for the Netflix series. I think we're just kind of talking about this. I'm going to ask this a little bit differently here. Kiefer, I hope that you were satisfied with some of the things that we talked about earlier here. But the question would be to me, do you think that prestige television is better at telling a novel story than a film because they have more time to dwell on the different plot twists within a book?
Sometimes. And then sometimes you have Game of Thrones. I mean, I don't mean to make light of it. I mean, because I loved that show and I was equally as heartbroken as everyone else with how it ended. But I think that's probably like a cheat anyway, because there's no one has seen the ending yet. So, but I don't know. I feel like it just depends upon like the length of the series. So for example, Foundation, a show that a number of my friends liked. I'd never watched much of it, but what I did see of it, I mean, that's a number of books, and it was a decently running TV series. I think like three seasons so far. I don't know if they had any more or not. But that's like I think that is the correct sort of format for something that is long running. But when you're talking about one book, for example, East of Eden, John Steinbeck's, that should be a movie it should be one epic movie rather than an ongoing series. And to me, that at some point things become elongated past their actual sell by date. At certain points, it starts to feel like stretched out Thanksgiving dinner. I feel like if it is a one book singular, one epic film should do it. If it's an ongoing series, TV makes more sense. And that's when you get into that Hyperion debate, like what's the best way to approach it with Bradley Cooper, who's got the rights to this thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's had the rights for like just like 15 years. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
keeps talking, oh, I'm going to do a movie. I'm going to do a TV show. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you know, and he just keeps changing, and nobody seems to know what he's going to do, if he's ever going to do it now. But you know, it makes sense, more sense as a TV show, given the way it's sort of structured like Canterbury Tales.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there are budget limitations to TV, even with its prestige TV. And with these space operas, you need the big, huge movie budget. So finding that middle ground's really hard, because even with something like Foundation or the HBO Dune series, or that current, what is it? The House of the Dragon. You know, you can see the limitations on those shows because they do have limited budgets by comparison to the things that hit the big screen. So it's just kind of like hoping you find the right aspect that works, in the right format that works.
And when it comes to TV, how many times have we said, oh, that's a filler episode? It really didn't contribute very well to a plot. Or even if you're binging something, it's breaking it up. And some people would argue, well, there's chapters in books that breaks it up. Might work better, as you were saying, for some of the things that do naturally have a number of books. And so there is a flow of breaking things up and then continuing the story.
Sure. So, yeah. I mean, it's a little unimaginative of me to say that. It's kind of like the obvious answer. But I mean, we do live in a world where a George R.R. Martin novella has been turned into a 6-episode miniseries.
Yeah.
You know? I read that today.
Made into 3 movies.
Right, exactly. They're about to make movies out of Gollum's little subplot.
Well, isn't the Silmarillion going to be a movie too?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I thought that Jackson was looking at that too.
They got 2 movies. One is The Hunt for Gollum, which is like, what is that? Like a page. And then, I mean, there's more. I can't remember. And then they're going to take the Barrow Downs, Tom Bombadil stuff from Lord of the Rings and make that a separate movie. But I'm not sure how that's going to work.
But Stephen Colbert's writing it. Tom.
Yeah, I did. Me too. I did.
Yeah. Interesting, because I'm making a comic, but not collaborating. I'm a writer. That's one of the things about writing, is you're not a collaborator in general. I mean, you may have people that you're bouncing ideas off or discussing potential aspects of your plot, but it is all you. You're director, you're actor, putting the voices into people. You want to talk a little bit about how writing is different than the collaboration of movies?
Well, it's a very lonely prospect. I mean, you sit and, you know, there's two ways to approach writing. You either know what you're going to write in advance or you don't. And in my case, I'm more of a pantser than a plotter. And sometimes I feel like that can maybe even show in my writing, but I try to refine it as we go. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to sit down, you're very isolated, you turn off everything, and you just try to enter that writing flow state. And no amount of tools, no amount of any kind of like classes or anything like that can ever really prepare you for like the immense amount of work that goes into kind of writing, putting yourself out there, and just putting out a product that you believe in, that you think you can refine. And believe me, when you write, no matter what, that first draft is always going to be terrible. It doesn't matter. You could be Kurt Vonnegut, and your first draft could still be absolutely just bad. But the point is, you get to the next draft and it's better and it's better and it's better, and you just never feel defeated by it. But yeah, writing is a solo person job, and it is the kind of thing that, like, you know, as long as you are sitting down to do the work, eventually you will produce work that you are proud of. I think we were talking about Ray Bradbury a second ago, but I think he has a quote, and I'm going to totally butcher it, where he says that, like, if you were to write a story a week for 52 weeks, there is no way on earth you will write 52 bad stories. It will not happen. I don't believe it. And you know what? I think he's right. I mean, you will produce some gold. And I've written a fair share of bad stories that I will never show anybody, that for me, they were just like apprentice work. I still think I'm in my apprentice stage, to be honest with you. But I do feel like the more you do it, the better you get. It's like a muscle. You just have to keep training it. And it can be extremely rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to actually skip some of the comments right now because I think this is a good segue to talk a little bit about your book.
Sure.
This is a book of, I'm just going to say a couple things about it, and then of course you can fill in the gaps. Taking Root. When was this published?
Last
Yeah.
June, actually. Yeah.
And so it's very new. This is a collection of stories that are sort of loosely connected through a town and through some an evil that is happening, or that infects, or that is passed through some things that happen within this town. And it starts, Taking Root itself is a story that starts with two college students, I believe they are, who are driving, and someone runs out on the road and they have an accident. They hit this person, and they're thinking, okay, we can report this, but this might wreck our lives. And so they do the unthinkable. The reason that I had that shovel in the picture is they decide they're just going to bury this person. And that's the prologue, and starting to introduce guilt and consequences and choices we make and how they can affect things down the line. And there's a couple stories later on that actually refer back to this in two different ways, primarily in guilt and how this accident came to be. I'll also mention that there's one story real close to the beginning. I think it was called Elizabeth, which I found fascinating, about a serial killer who was within this town as well. And it's told in different formats, from diaries, from newspaper articles. I can't even remember if there's police reports, but there's different pieces that come together on different dates. And I found it really interesting the way you weave that story together. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book itself and perhaps your inspiration for it?
Yeah. So this book actually was born out of a writing workshop that I took in 2023. I had left my corporate job as a lobbyist and educator in nonprofit space to really just kind of full bore concentrate on creative writing and to feel like I didn't want to miss out, you know what I mean? And I felt that I didn't want to feel like I had any regrets. And my partner, who thankfully, is she's CEO of her company, so it's kind of like I have a lot of flexibility where she has a very good job. So I'm able to pursue this passion, which, as Bret Easton Ellis says, if you want to be a writer, marry someone rich. But that's not the case. But you know what I mean? It's
I know. I married an accountant.
One of the things that happens in workshops is that you get prompt exercises, and one of these prompts was something along the line of, and I'm not going to get it right, but it was like John and Vinny knew their lives would never be the same after this. And I thought, oh, I know what to do. I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write about one of these, like, I've always loved like mistaken crime stories. I've loved like these Coen brothers kind of things. Yeah. And like the stuff from like the 90s neo noirs, Lone Star and one false move and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought I'm going to write something kind of like that. And that's where I sort of created this story about these two college kids, exactly everything you just kind of you so succinctly summarized. And then I thought, I really like this idea of like having sort of a shared town space. And I grew up for the first 10 years of my life, maybe a little less. I grew up in a town called Harlem, Georgia. Which is a really small town, has like one red light, probably has about 2,000 people in it, maybe less, at least at the time when I was growing up there. Average income is about $35,000 a year. It's very sort of lower middle income. And when I was growing up there wasn't a whole lot to do, but I had a lot of fine memories growing up in like the late 80s, early 90s in this rural town. And for a lot of it, rural towns can be quite peaceful, but at night they can also be creepy as heck, right? Like you're a kid and your uncle's got Night of the Living Dead on, and you're just sitting there at the middle of the night on syndicated TV, and you're like looking out into the horizon, out into the middle of nothing, and you're like, something could be crawling out to me sometimes. I'm really scared something's going to come out of the windows. Let me close these. And so as a little kid, these kinds of things stuck with me. And I thought, gosh, what a great space to play in, to have like sort of like a small town that has like all the little things you could play with as a potential space for horrors and speculative fiction. So I used that, and I came up with this idea, and I don't think it's probably all that original. I'm sure plenty of people have done something similar, but I wanted to play with a few different genres and a few different storytelling methods across the chronology of this town. So one story takes place in 1982 about this punk rock band. And then in 1960, whatever year I use, that's where we have like that story about the serial killer that we discussed. And then we've got a story from the 1950s where I wanted to play with like the Alfred Hitchcock style of wrong man narrative and sort of a bet gone bad. And, then we even go all the way to like the late 1800s, where we have kind of like a early founding of the town story. And and so it's just like being able to play with a lot of this has like gave me the opportunity to not only play with different a little bit of science fiction here, a little bit of dark fantasy there, and pure on horror here, but it also really gave me the opportunity to see things through, to connect the stories. And, if one were to sit down, you could probably come up with a lot of cool little connections between each story that I've seeded, particularly when it comes to the framing narrative, which does return in the beginning, middle, and end. So just a lot of fun. It's nice to have a play place,
Yeah. Well, and I definitely saw the experimental part of it. And, I think just like any other story collections, there's some that you connect with more or go, well, that's very cool. Or, wow, I like the way this is phrased or this character. And then there's some, okay, let's move on to the next story. Well, I just want to see how this works. And I think you did a great job with this experimental, still giving it a feel of this is my town, but this place can be scary, and this is a place where there can be some dread in the bones of people, and there can be surprises of what can happen within this town. And I really enjoyed it. It was good.
Well, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate those kind words. And I should say too, my intention when I wrote this wasn't to ever sort of speak down to like my roots or anything like that. Or I think it's important I share this because, I wanted to sort of kind of share like what it's like to be someone that lives in a rural community. It is not like, the way we have like sort of a us versus them mentality here in the US sometimes between big cities and small towns. And I hate that because I feel like there are a lot of like good folks in both places. And there's like a really good sort of, rich culture that exists in small towns that I think kind of go underheralded. So I just really wanted to like bring up like this idea of like the everyday person that lives there, and like this idea that like, we're all the same. We're all scared of the same stuff. Yeah.
Well, what? I grew up in a small town too. Moved to Winnipeg when I was 15, and in a small town and in a small rural community, let's say it that way, with farms and stuff, someone's stuck on the side of the road, everybody stops for you. Doesn't matter who you are. We all have to hang in there together to make things work. In a community like that, you encourage every single kid you can to go play hockey, so you can have a hockey team in the little community, and you have a rink. Like there's a can-do kind of attitude in little communities that really brings them together. All right, maybe we should look at a few more comments here, and then I'd like to hear a little bit more about maybe what you're working on now and where you're going and the connections that people can make with you. So let's see here. I'm going to skip down to someone is saying that Fight Club is a good example of a terrific adaptation. I don't know if you would think so, as was Shawshank Redemption. I do think shorter novels and novellas lend themselves. And that's what I was talking about with Stephen King. I think his novellas make great movies.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Especially like once you get past like those early Stephen King, like there was a stretch of time where King's earliest novels were being adapted by terrific directors like Brian De Palma with
Mm.
Carrie, and John Carpenter with Christine, and of course Stanley Kubrick with The Shining. Of course, Stephen King doesn't think that, but I think that.
I know.
You know?
I like both. I like the novel, and they're a little bit different.
but after that, there became such a deluge of his novels being sort of adapted for television instead. So it was where you had like the Rob Reiner adaptations, like Stand By Me, and like the Frank Darabont stuff, like The Mist. And I agree. I think the novellas for King really are where sort of a lot of the magic is at. And I think I could be wrong about this, but I think the breathing method, the last story in different seasons, is still on the cusp of being adapted.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see.
That was an amazing piece of work for him there in terms of how well those were all adapted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people talk about Apt Pupil, but I found that a fascinating movie. And that was Ian McKellen, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. And that was before Lord of the Rings. I mean, a lot of people know Ian McKellen from Lord of the Rings, but he's a great actor before that too.
Oh, sure.
Let's see what else we have here. Keith looks like he's read this book, and it's great. Keith, if you remember what the name of it was, I wouldn't mind knowing, but I'm sure I can look that up. When you have to ask yourself why you think the filmmaker made the changes he did, Verhoeven. That's a very his adaptation of Heinlein's Starship Troopers is a very well discussed, I'll say, but controversial adaptation. I don't know if you have any opinion on that one.
Well, it's funny. I'm not the biggest Heinlein fan, and it doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's just like his writing style is not something that I kind of glom onto particularly. But I do like the Verhoeven adaptation of Starship Troopers, but I like Paul Verhoeven in general.
Okay.
I'm a big RoboCop fan. Also, he had a film that came out a couple of years ago, maybe 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, called Benedetta. That was like his version of, oh boy, I'm not going to go far down this rabbit hole, I promise. But it was his version of this subgenre called nunsploitation, which is, kind of like these movies like Ken Russell's The Devils, and like where they had all these movies about nuns and stuff. And it was like his kind of like this strange, like action-y drama, maximalist version of like a nun movie and about the Black Plague. And if you like Paul Verhoeven, I highly recommend Benedetta.
All right. Going places I didn't think we'd go.
Sorry, nunsploitation.
Bradbury wrote a wonderful dark fantasy story about his experience working with Houston. It's called Banshee. I haven't read that one. Have you heard of it? Oh, that's one I'll have to look up. I do have a number of his collections here, and I just have to see if I can find that one. Picture by Lillian Ross is a great book on John Huston adapting The Red Badge of Courage. I had to read that one in grade 9 in school. And the dangers of changing the source material in the editing. Okay. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to. And Green Shadows, White Whale is the name. Thank you, Keith. And they're a little late coming in here. That's all right. You can always watch it a little bit later. So what are you working on now, and what are some things that we can look for, or where can we find you to see some of your work?
Sure. So I am currently in the second, this is going to sound so silly, the second first draft of my first actual novel. Like, I consider Taking Root to be kind of like a novel in short story form, which is kind of a cheat. Josh Mallerman did something similar with his book Goblin, which was like a novel in 5 novellas or whatever. But I do consider it sort of a kaleidoscopic novel in a way.
Well, you know what? In science fiction, we called them fix-ups all the time, where they would take their stories and marry them together in ways that worked. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. I'm totally there. But I did want to write like a full-on proper novel, and the direction I started to go in initially, it was always going to be something in the crime space. And when I started writing it, I felt like I still had like a demon to exercise. So currently, and I don't know if this will stay the same, but I am setting the novel still in the town of Hampton's Edge. It is right now. Yeah, where Taking Root takes place. I'm going to at least have one last big story there, is my plan, because there were some things that I didn't include related to sort of like some of the Creek Indian presence there, and sort of like a few other areas and elements that I wanted to touch on regarding like gentrification and the drug trade that happens in small towns. And so I wanted to sort of amalgamate all of that into one big novel. And so I've been writing the story about a guy who returns to his town for the first time in about a long time, we'll say. I won't put a number on it yet because I'm still sort of drafting it. Very scarred war veteran. And he returns, and the town's very different than he remembers it. His mother's in very bad shape, and it's sort of a early onset dementia way. And his father has been long disappeared. And all of these things will come together in sort of a mystery story that I've been sort of comparing from the style of like the Southern Gothics more than anything else. I don't know if anybody on here is familiar with David Joy or someone like Michael Ferris Smith, or someone is more well known like Flannery O'Connor. Like I take a lot of inspiration from that element of storytelling, like the old William Faulkner style, and that kind of imagery and that sort of darker approach to sort of the Southern Gothic style that I am very excited to sort of work through it. I will tell you, I say it's the second first draft because the first draft, I wrote about 100 pages of this, and I handed it over to my partner, who is my ideal reader. Which, if you ever read On Writing by Stephen King, it's you have to have an idealized reader, and Hannah is mine. And so I handed her those first 100 pages, and she said, this is very good. But I think everything you're doing, you should do the opposite of it. And I said, okay. And that sent me on sort of a mission to sort of reconceptualize what I was doing with this work, the approach to the main character. And I feel like I've got something that I'm a lot happier with, though it will probably require a few revisions when I get to the final sort of page 250, 300, wherever I end up ending this thing. But that's the current book, and I'm hoping to have something out end of next year as sort of a follow-up to Taking Root, with any luck, if I don't end up traditionally publishing it, of course. But that's out of my control. As far as where people can find me and the things I write every day, you can go to my website, screenrex.com, which is where I and my partner write up our movie reviews on a regular basis. We'll have a lot of reviews next week because we're seeing the new Steven Spielberg movie on Monday. And then
I'm looking forward to that one. I hope it.
Yeah, we're seeing that one, and then we're seing a big horror movie called Leviticus after that. And there's just a whole bunch of things. We've got a lot of movies coming up that they're right within this sort of June time frame. I think like 3 or 4 in a row. So there'll be a lot of content there. I also have that blasted TikTok that I made that you can find me there. I can't even remember. I think it's like at Kyle Pinion author, maybe, or at Kyle Pinion. And come find me. And occasionally I upload a good video that you can see a short take on.
Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, the important things.
Actually, I think on YouTube you have links in your description to your social media as well in there, correct?
I do. Yeah. If you go to TBR Kyle page. Yeah, I think I've got my Letterboxd on there.
Yes.
Yeah, which is always a good place to follow me, because Screen Rex, I only write new releases. Letterboxd, it's everything I watch. And I think Letterboxd is the best social media outlet out there. I love it to death. I'm a paid subscriber to it. I think I'm just such a believer. So definitely follow me there. Let's talk about movies together. And yes, please come visit me at TBR Kyle. I don't upload as much as like all of you hard workers in the booktube space, but I do try to do something every 2 weeks where I can. I'm just such a slow reader to
me, that channel is just, hey, it's a love of reading. And when I've read a good book, I want to talk about it. That's what I see your channel as right now.
Yeah, that's what it is. And just, bear with me. I promise I will produce content as much as I can. Get ready, guys, because you're going to learn a lot about Key West in my next video. I'm editing it all together now.
We have a bit of a vlog video. That's good.
Yeah, following up on the Toronto one.
I'm going to, once we're off air here, I'll put the links in this video description as well. So if someone who's watching right now wants to come back half an hour after this video is over, I'll make sure I have some links down there for you too. Or of course, go to TBR Kyle and find the links there too. All right. This has been great. I really appreciate you coming on, Kyle, and I love this having this discussion with you. Maybe someday we'll just have to talk about a film like Disclosure or something like that too. I'd love to continue our conversation in the future.
I would love it. It would be great to talk about this stuff. Yeah, anytime.
Okay, thanks a lot, and thank you for coming and watching here. I loved having some of these live questions. Appreciate that very much. And yeah, until next time, keep reading and keep watching. Right. All right. And sometimes